I'm your long-lost mother. Black waitress confronts billionaire's son. What happens next will shock you. The cold winter night wrapped around Jamila as she stepped outside the warm glow of the restaurant. The chill in the air cut deep, but it couldn't compare to the heaviness in her heart. She had waited years for this moment where she would finally confront him. Ethan. Her son. The son she had given up, hoping he would have a better life. Now, the man who had inherited his father's fortune stood before her, unaware of the truth. Jamila had watched him from a distance over the years, wishing she could be the mother he deserved. Tonight, everything would change. You're not. You can't be. Ethan's voice trembled when he saw her, his disbelief clear. Jamila stepped forward, her heart racing. I'm your mother, Ethan. And I need you to hear me. Where are you watching from? Have you ever faced a truth that changed everything? Jamila's hands trembled as she held onto the small, weathered envelope, Victor's name written on the top, a reminder of everything she had lost. 4 years, she had carried this secret, hidden away in the depths of her heart. A secret that had defined her life, even though no one else knew it. 20 years ago, Jamila was a young woman, working double shifts at the same upscale restaurant where she'd just confronted her son. She was barely making ends meet when Victor, a powerful businessman, walked into her life. He was charming, persuasive, and promised her the world. They shared a night together, a night that would change everything. When she found out she was pregnant, Victor's offer came quickly. Money, silence, and a promise that her child would never suffer. But instead of a life full of love and care, her son had been handed over to strangers, and Jamila had been erased from his world. She couldn't blame him for not knowing the truth. He had been a child. But the man standing in front of her now, with the cold eyes of someone who had inherited a fortune built on lies, didn't know who he was. Ethan looked at the papers in Jamila's hand, his brow furrowed. What is this? What are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that your father's empire wasn't built on honesty, Jamila said quietly, her voice carrying a weight of years. It was built on deals made with blood money. And you don't know what he really did to get where he is. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're saying he was a bad man? No, I refuse to believe it. I don't believe you. The words hung between them like a heavy fog. Jamila didn't want to destroy his world, but the truth was stronger than any fear she had. What would you do if you learned everything you believed in was built on lies? The rising tension here brings the central conflict to the forefront. Ethan's disbelief and Jamila's determination to reveal the truth set up an emotional showdown, while Jamila's past and the weight of her choices deepened the stakes. The night grew colder as they stood there, facing each other on the quiet street. The weight of Jamila's words settled around them like a blanket, thick and suffocating. Ethan could hardly breathe, let alone accept what she was telling him. His father, the man he admired, the man who had given him everything, was a fraud? How could he believe that? His mind raced, replaying the stories of his father's rise to power. My father built everything from nothing, he muttered, as if saying it aloud would make it true. He worked hard, made sacrifices. I've seen it, he didn't cheat to get ahead. Jamila shook her head slowly, her heart aching for him. Ethan, sometimes what we see is not the truth. Your father built his wealth on others' pain. He destroyed lives to make himself rich. And I have proof of the deals he made. All of it, covered up, hidden from you. Ethan's hands clenched at his sides, the storm inside him growing. How can you expect me to just believe you? After all these years. His voice cracked. The disbelief, the betrayal, he couldn't hide it. The silence stretched between them, heavy, filled with words unsaid. Jamila stepped forward, holding out the papers to him. He looked at them but didn't take them. She pressed them into his hands. This was my life, Ethan. I gave you up because I thought you would have more. I thought I was doing the right thing. He glanced at the papers, then back at her. And what do you want from me now? To destroy everything I've worked for. His voice trembled with a mix of anger and fear. Jamila's eyes softened. No, Ethan. I don't want to destroy anything. I want you to know the truth, so you can make your own choices. You've lived your life believing one thing, but it's time you saw what's really behind it all. He stared at her for a long moment, his mind reeling. The father he had known, the life he had built, all of it now seemed like a house of cards, ready to collapse. Jamila took a deep breath, her voice barely a whisper. I never wanted to take this from you. But I can't let you live in the lie any longer. The air was still, but the weight between them felt unbearable. Ethan finally looked down at the papers in his hands, the first real crack in his armor showing. Have you ever been forced to see the world differently, to face the truth even when you didn't want to? Ethan felt like the ground beneath him had been ripped away. The world, which had always made sense, now seemed out of focus, blurry and unreal. The papers in his hands felt heavier by the second. He couldn't even look at Jamila anymore, her face now a symbol of everything that was wrong with his life. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the chaos inside him. How could this be true? His father had always been a man of integrity. Or so he thought. The empire his father had built was beyond what most people could even imagine, a symbol of hard work, dedication, and success. Wasn't that what he'd always believed? Had it all been a lie? Jamila stood a few feet away, silent but waiting. She didn't press him to understand, didn't urge him to believe her. She just stood there, holding the weight of the years between them. She had waited so long for this moment, but now that it was here, she didn't know if she could bear the pain of seeing her son torn apart by the truth. Ethan's voice broke the silence, hoarse and raw. Why didn't you fight harder for me? The words hung in the air, sharp with the sting of abandonment. You could have come to me. I was just a kid. You could have told me the truth. Why didn't you fight? His words hit Jamila like a fist, and for a moment, she struggled to breathe. He was right, she hadn't fought. She hadn't been strong enough. She had thought giving him up was the right thing to do, that he would have a better life. But now, standing here in front of him, all she could feel was the overwhelming weight of that choice. I didn't know how, Ethan. I didn't know how to bring you into a world that would destroy you too. I thought if I stayed away, you'd be safe, that you'd be happy. Her voice faltered. But I was wrong. I should have fought. I should have been stronger for you. Ethan looked at her, his eyes filled with pain, confusion, and something else. Something that looked like hurt. He took a step back, his hand gripping the envelope tighter. The truth was too much for him to process in this moment. The man he had admired, the life he had built on that admiration, it was all unraveling in his hands. But Jamila didn't turn away. She waited. She understood. The truth was hard to swallow, especially when it shattered everything you thought you knew. And she had no illusions that Ethan would forgive her in an instant. This wasn't about forgiveness, it was about giving him the chance to make his own decisions. I didn't want to take this from you, Jamila whispered. But I've waited my whole life for you to understand, for you to know who you are. Not who he made you think you were, but who you really are. Ethan's shoulders slumped, his anger slowly turning to something else, something more vulnerable. The years of resentment, of confusion, all came flooding back. The cold emptiness of growing up without the love of a mother, of being raised by someone who saw him as just another asset in a business deal. It all hurt more now, the lies standing out clearer than ever before. I didn't know how to be your mother, Jamila continued, her voice gentle, full of the ache of time lost. But I never stopped loving you. I never stopped wanting to be with you. And now, I just need you to know the truth. Ethan wiped his face with the back of his hand, his heart heavy with the weight of everything he'd just learned. I don't know what to do with all of this, he murmured, as though lost in thought. Everything is falling apart, and I don't know where to go. In that moment, Jamila reached out, her hand steady but warm. You don't have to have all the answers, Ethan. Just take it one step at a time. He looked at her, the vulnerability in his eyes more apparent now than ever before. What if I'm not ready to face it? What if I'm just too lost to change anything? Jamila smiled softly, a sad, knowing smile. It's okay to be lost. Sometimes we need to get lost to find our way back. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan allowed himself to believe it might be possible to find his way back to something real. Have you ever been so lost that you didn't know where to go, but somehow, you found your way? Ethan stood frozen, the weight of Jamila's words and the papers in his hand pulling him in different directions. His life, everything he thought he knew, was unraveling. How could he accept that the man he admired, his father, had built everything on lies? I don't know if I can do this, Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. Everything's been a lie. How do I fix this? Jamila stepped closer, her voice steady. You don't have to fix it, Ethan. You just have to live with the truth. It's hard, but it's the only way forward. Ethan clenched his fists. I'm angry at you for not being there. I'm angry at him, for everything. Jamila nodded. It's okay to be angry. Just don't let that anger control you. Ethan looked at the papers again. The life he had built, based on lies, now felt hollow. But in this painful truth, he found a chance to rebuild, without the shadow of his father. He realized he could start fresh, choose the truth, and heal. Maybe it's time to tear it all down, he murmured. Start fresh. Jamila smiled through her tears. I'm proud of you, Ethan. You don't have to do this alone. Ethan looked at his mother, his real mother, and for the first time, he felt at peace. The anger and confusion were still there, but now, they were balanced with a sense of clarity. He could heal, and he would. Have you ever decided to change everything in your life and start fresh? The days after their confrontation were hard, but Ethan was beginning to find peace. Each day, he worked through the damage caused by his father's lies, reaching out to those hurt by the empire built on deceit. It wasn't easy, but Jamila stood by him, offering support and wisdom every step of the way. You don't have to fix everything at once, Jamila reminded him often. Just take it one step at a time. Ethan was learning to let go of the anger that had consumed him. The anger toward his father, toward Jamila. He realized holding onto it only kept him stuck in the past. He couldn't change what had happened, but he could choose to move forward. One evening, they sat together on Jamila's porch, watching the sunset. The city buzzed around them, but the quiet between them felt comfortable, full of understanding. After a while, Jamila spoke softly. I'm proud of you, Ethan. You're doing the right thing. Ethan turned to her, feeling the weight of her words. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself for not seeing the truth sooner, he said, but I'm trying. I want to make things right. Jamila smiled, her eyes filled with tears. You already are. You don't have to do it alone. The sun dipped lower, and for the first time, Ethan felt peace. The wealth and power his father left behind no longer mattered. What mattered now was the truth, the chance to rebuild, and the love of a mother who had never given up on him. Thank you, he whispered, for never giving up on me. Jamila held his hand, her voice steady. I never will. Together, they sat in silence, the future full of hope. The truth had set them free, and in that freedom, they could begin anew. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that matter.